Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into day number 4 of the Dota 2 Asia Championships 2017 America Qualifier. Today, it's all about the losers of Group A and B, as it's going to be Digital Chaos versus Team Freedom, and then we're going to be hopping into Infamous versus SG Esports. It's an exciting day of exciting Dota, and it's Beyond the Summit bringing you the coverage once again. I'm Coddle Guy, and I'm going to be joined in-house here by good buddy Blaze. Hi, Blaze. Welcome to another day of Dota.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man. And this is going to be a pretty intense one, as every match for the next 4 is going to be elimination, essentially. Yes, we're in the group stage, but there are only 2 slots from each group going into a 4-team playoff bracket, which means each match is essential, and each one, their survival is on the line here in DAC 2017. So it's going to be pretty intense. Obviously, Digital Chaos, a lot of people were not expecting to see them here in what we can consider the lower bracket of the GSL Group A. But here they are. They got 2-1'd by Wanted, and now they have to go up against Freedom and later on up against Wanted themselves in a rematch, potentially.
Yeah, we saw yesterday Wanted go toe-to-toe against Complexity, and it was Complexity who bested them 2-0, and now they're sitting at the top, and they had that free little pass into the playoffs. MP also joined them with the swift takedown of... Who did they face off against yesterday? MP? It was MP and...
Killing me now. I wasn't ready for Group B.
Oh,
yet,
Onyx.
Onyx,
That's right. MP versus Onyx. We'll be going over to Group B of the lower bracket after this series. But let's get into this one. As you mentioned, Digital Chaos, a team that was slated to probably be a favorite to just win this qualifier straight out, now finds himself at potential elimination here. But most would look at this lineup and still at this matchup rather and say that DC are going to be the heavily favored team. But we know Team Freedom. It's IX Mike. It's Eagle. It's the Banana Slam Jam of the legend himself. What do you think? Do they have upset potential?
They certainly do, but at the same time, this is DC. This was probably one of the hardest teams that they can be going up against at this stage here, and Freedom don't look terribly strong at the moment in NA Dota as a whole. If you look at their record over the past couple weeks, it's actually 4-15 over their last 19 games. So, and they haven't even been facing teams like Wanted. They've only had one match against Onyx, so a lot of these newcomers that are really upping the competition and upping the game of NA Dota is just going to make it harder and harder. So Team Freedom, if they're going to be making a name for themselves throughout the NA scene and remaining in, let's say, the top 4 of the region, they have to be able to take games off of teams like Digital Chaos. So let's see if they've got what it takes. They certainly get the draft that they're looking for. Eagle gets to pick himself up the Leshrac, which he definitely prefers to whenever he gets the opportunity. Yeah, there's the Abaddon band out against Mike. That's kind of a, not necessarily respect, but hey, Mike, let's see something else from you. Let's get you out of your comfort zone.
A lot of hate towards Mike outside the Abaddon too. They go right for the Darkseer, then even the Underlord. So Mike's gonna have to start reaching for other options here, and they settle on the Centaur, which is a good pick.
Mike's a pretty simple guy. If he can just pick a single hero and just keep playing it, then he will. So they're throwing him a curveball. They're saying, okay, well, if you're not playing your Abaddon, your Darkseer. And he's like, okay, well, Centaur's fine by me too. He has a good handful of heroes in his repertoire that he can execute really well with, but this is a bit of a surprise here. Variation into the Chen for Digital Chaos. Now, Shadow Demon Luna, no surprise at all. It was very prevalent in their match versus Wanted, as well as across every single meta in Dota 2 right now. But Chen is pretty unique. It fits very well with the Deathball style of trying to win the game in about 25 minutes. Misery personally has a really good reputation for his Chen and his Enchantress play, but I've also seen Soxa being able to pick it up a couple times in DC as well.
You just don't see Chen very often also in American qualifiers. Only a team like DC would roll up and play a Chen in one of these kind of qualifier games.
Yeah.
But they're going to use it. I mean, call it whatever you want. If you want to call it full nerd sweat tryhard mode, that's what I would call the draft at DC.
It's elimination, man.
It is elimination. I mean, I'm not faulting them for it, but they know they got to win. It's a got to win situation. After their series against Wanted, people are probably looking at DC like, that's weird. So, yeah, you got that win at ESL Genting. Are you going to get that invite? Do you need to make this land run count? I mean, don't get me wrong, Misery's the kind of guy, he loves to creep under the radar. He would love to sneak into a major as a super underdog, but we'll have to see here. If Freedom get a win in this series, it would definitely hit the stock of DC, I'd feel a little bit.
There's a balance, right? Because you don't really want a target on your back. You don't want to be like, oh, that's the team to beat. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's nice to get directly invited and not have to show so many cards throughout the qualifiers.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
DC expected to be directly invited to this event, or even a little bit flamboyant that they weren't. But they're here. They have to take it down Freedom, and as well as Wanted if they want to be making it even just to the playoffs for this, because America only gets one slot, and there are a lot of teams to beat. But going into this next phase of bans here, we do see that Moon Meander, his Slaughter is going to be taken out. He's looking for a playmaking off lane, and there are a lot that are banned out right now. And then the Weepo as well is going to be taken off the table, and instead we're actually going to be seeing a Puck.
Okay, now that steps away from the nerd sweatiness I was saying before. This is something a little more fresh, and I don't know what this is going to be alluding to, but it's fun. A
really
hop
good.
Puck was something we don't get to see very often at all here. But what do you think prompted the Puck? Like, why here and now, and how come we haven't seen it with any other Shadow Demon Luna / Chen lineups?
Well, I would say it's more about counter synergy. It's more about how he deals with the Freedom lineup, and I would say extremely well. I talked about yesterday about how the Dream Coil can be considered a counter to Stampede. You just wrangle them all in one place. They don't really get to run around where they want to. The Silence is actually really good this game against both the supports, Leshrac and Witch Doctor. And Phase Shift is actually extremely good this game. There are so many spells to dodge with Phase Shift. If you're well-timed on that ability, then you're going to be in position to dodge out like half the stuns.
Here would be the ultimate long con from DC, is at the end here they pull out the off-lane Lifestealer, a Mike Pioneer tried and true.
Oh my.
Just because you have Chen and Puck, it was like, man, this looks like it'd be a fun Lifestealer lineup too. But they're going for an off-laner. I doubt they would do it. I don't know. Misery's a crafty kind of a guy, but we'll have to look possibly elsewhere here to see what they want to farm with on the offlane.
It's also possible Moon actually takes the Puck to the offlane, and then we could see still a playmaker for Wii in the mid. I don't prefer offlane Puck, but it definitely can still work. You might go Boots first, or might get the Chen early involved, but there's a lot of ways that you can still make that lineup work. It's hard against Sven, Lesh, and Witch Doctor, though. Like I said, Phase Shift is really good, but it's not that good where you can dodge out 3 different stuns in an offlane situation. So I'd prefer something else for Moon Meander here. Probably a strength core like the Timbersaw that was banned out. Yeah. But something that gives him some good early tempo, gets him involved. He had a really good Clockwork game the other day. I forget if it was Starlight or DAC, but he was able to just trounce his opposition. Yeah.
Clockwork would be pretty nice. What about Sand?
There we go.
There it is. Good.
All right. Nice. I mean, if you look at it, Leshrac is a hero that has a really hard time against the Clockwork. Centaur Warrunner Stampede is pretty useless against Cogs. And even the Witch Doctor won't be able to really do much in a situation where he's close quarters with a Clockwork. That being said, it's going to be very key that Moon gets some good Cog blocks. He pulls back the lane, because unless they get a really good ward down, there's going to be a lot of pulling from Leshrac, Witch Doctor, and you cannot go past the tree line against those 3.
We go back to Freedom now for their final pickup here, and what looks like their mid laner to match up toe-to-toe against the Puck. We could see Fistful of Tango's Queen of Pain maybe possibly come out here. Other tried and true classic, we have Shadow Fiend still available. Odie's in the pool. Someone probably going to have to be able to hold their own at what could be potential early harassment from Chen. Maybe a mid lane Mirana if you want to have the free way to kill the Chen and be avoidable. Okay. No, they're going to go with the Tinker here. So the Timado Tinker.
Yeah. Definitely can work. I mean, obviously, the big deal here is getting his Smarts Machines out aplenty. Puck has some jump potential against Tinker, Clockwork as well, so it's kind of scary for him to just be playing in the tree line. They get any vision on him, and he's probably going to get killed off. I mean, you got even the Lucent Beam as a long-range stun if you need it. So there's a lot of ways that they can control the Freedom Clockwork, but it is also something that not only Tomato is comfortable with, but I think Freedom as a whole is really good at playing around. They actually used to play Tinker a lot with they've had an assortment of players go through their rosters, and they used to do like the Tinker Kunkka strats. They used to do all these high variance things where they played and built their lineup around making sure that this Tinker came online in a big way.
I want to say Flea was on that team.
Yeah, at the time.
He played Tinker for them during their Tinker run.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, you're right. It is something definitely Freedom have played with before. This isn't going to be something new and fresh for them. The game, though, is feeling very fresh here as we get underway. It's our very first game, very first match of day number 4 of American Qualifier action here for the DAC. We have the lower bracket matchup, if you will, between Group A Freedom and obviously taken down in a tough matchup against Complexity, who eventually went on to also 2-0 Wanted and find themselves securing into the playoffs, while DC ran into Wanted in that first round and were taken down after a 3-game stretch. Obviously, the loser of this series will pretty much be out of contention for DAC. DC heavy favorites. We'll see what Freedom can do to maybe pull out an upset. They smoke and they run in. Good luck, have fun, as they already have an idea that Resolution is just on the other side of these trees. They go for the stun, but it's not going to find its mark. Resolution shakes that one off and quickly realizes what's happening.
Very nice nook to hide in there that keeps them safe and sound. The Shadow Demon was almost close enough. The Disruption might be able to disrupt that anyways, but nice. A little bit of enjoyable back and forth. Just for a quick stats tip here, just looked back at Misery's Chen picks, and he's actually only picked it twice since TI. Once in the Star Ladder, once in Captain's Draft, and now featuring it here. And I gotta say, he was once considered to be among like the top 5 Chens in the world easily. His micromanagement skills are absolutely insane, and while you could consider it maybe a little out of practice, I think they have a great lineup to set it up. I mean, you can roam so well with early smokes with the help of like a Shadow Demon. I actually consider Shadow Demon one of the best heroes to set up a Chen in early ganks. You disrupt, and no matter what Chen creep you have, you're going to be able to land your ability, whether it's a Hellbear Clap, Centaur Hoof Stomp, so on and so forth. So I think that's going to be pretty key, is how many ganks he's able to get off in that off lane, as well as potentially some rotations on Tinker in the mid.
Yeah, it's looking pretty comfortable here for DC. It's not just any Shadow Demon, also to help it up, it's a Soxa Shadow Demon. It's his top pickup, I believe, this patch, and something he's definitely seen huge success with. And, you know, Freedom, what looks like it'll be rolling with an aggro setup to go into Resolution's lane here. How do you think this potential try on tri-lane could go? I mean, if you do have Misery kind of floating around that top lane a bit.
I don't think that they want to do that, because Moonmeander would just have a field day with a 1v1 versus the Sven. Like, Sven obviously has a lot of base armor, can survive pretty well against Clockwork's physical attacks, but then Clockwork gets that battery assault maybe level 2 or level 3, and then the Sven just really can't compete directly with him and has to kind of pull back off the lane. So I feel like they have to either do 2-1-2 or just have the Centaur solo. Because otherwise it gets awkward. We're actually going to see Mike right now, starting off bottom against Moonmeander, has a lot more HP to work with comparatively, so he should be all right for this stage, especially if he's looking towards Shrinkle Boots. But yeah, that try-v-try is going to be pretty interesting. If the Chen gets good creeps, he should be able to get himself involved in the lane pretty well, and it should favor DC, but there's a lot of RNG involved in that.
Jubei will be blocking out the pull camp here. Soxa is going to see it's blocked. He will see now that Jubei comes around the corner, so we'll probably get an idea that it's not a ward. It's actually Jubei himself causing the plug up right there, and he'll just do his best to harass him a bit. We'll come back to touch base in the very aggressive lane. Mid lane, Puck versus Tinker. Have not seen this matchup for quite a while. Tomato, and had the luxury of being able to pick his mid lane matchup into the Puck. Top lane, the stun connection on for Resolution, and success so far for Freedom's tri-lane as they get a big pickup there, taking down Luna.
I gotta say that's entirely on Soxa. He randomly disrupts the Witch Doctor there. I think he was going for a tri-block on the trees, where you get like the 2 illusions of the tree pinning a hero in. But because that's such a long cooldown at level 1, 27 seconds, he doesn't have it available for Rezo, and so Rezo, his only option would be to farm under the tower.
Well, they're going for that setup you were mentioning before to help out with Misery. Jubei trying to walk away. The tornadoes are coming, and it's going to be doing enough damage. Misery will be able to fire back. Bit of redemption there in the top lane.
Yeah, and they need those kills back the other way, because Team Freedom do run aggro triads pretty frequently. They are very often get involved in the offlane and try to suppress the enemy cores. So in this position, you kind of have to find tit for tat, and you have to find your kills back the other way.
While they separate that bit of aggression here, we try to touch base on what's happening across the map here. Mike inching ahead, thanks to those cogs a bit in the CS game 8-0 to Moons 4 and 5, who's favoring more in the denies. Weehaw also matched up on top here, 8 and 4 to Tinker's 6 and 3. But as the levels come online, who do you begin to favor between the Tinker and Puck?
That's a tough call. I mean, I think Puck has more rotation potential. Tinker will mostly be static on the lane, but I mean, they are just going to be going back at it. The Tinker's going to be able to do a little bit more direct damage. The Puck will probably get more runes, and it'll even itself out pretty well. The big deal is, in my mind, the first TP. When the Puck makes his rotation with Dream Coil, he can set up a couple of kills, and that can give him so much more net worth than Tomato.
Curious to see what lane they'll look to emphasize here. I'd imagine it could be towards Mr. Banana Slam Jamma, who's still hanging side by side with Eagle. Jube's been kind of keeping himself on the map. We saw earlier him infiltrate and steal DC's bounty rune there, and now takes his business to the bottom lane to help out Mike in pulling the creep wave. DC might get the gist that this has turned into a duo on duo kind of a lane. And we'll see if they look for any future setups with assistance from Misery, who's nearby.
Yeah, he's probably going to just drop the Wild Wing now that he's got some good tornado damage out. He stacks up a camp. He's going to grab up another creep. And he needs to get jungling himself a little bit because he is going to be sitting at level 2 for a very long time if his only resource for farming is sitting up top.
Yeah, so should be able to find his way after taking this and mowing down the camp with the tornado. And Jube's nowhere around to kind of bug him a bit, so things will be pretty straightforward as far as this lane CS game continues here. With Mike still at the top, Banana's now kind of taking over a bit, still finding himself neck and neck with Resolution. So now that they've separated from being a try-on-try, Jube's got his impression in the lane, and now they left it on this 2 versus 3, where BSJ is matching up evenly. Is this still good for Freedom?
I would not say so. I mean, we'll see if they can get this kill. They're going to be able to follow it up with the Split Earth nicely. Disruption is not there yet, and it's only going to delay the inevitable as the Edict is already in play.
Yep. He does try to pop the wand, and it might be just enough.
Oh, misses.
Good cancel with the Lucent Beam. Eagle's not going to be able to get the finish in BSJ. He tried to get close enough to maybe help out, but look who showed up to play. It's Misery. BSJ is going to be punished for it. And that may have answered our question, Blaze, as far as how the top lane's going for Freedom. It wasn't as clear-cut before, but that will certainly make it much nicer for DC.
That should not have happened that way. There was one auto attack from the kill on Shadow Demon, then no need to dive at all, and it straight up was coming down to the way they managed their auto attacks versus their cast animations. They definitely could have gotten one auto in there. Instead, the last one is canceled out by the Lucent Beam, and that's a wrap for this top lane, man. It's just one of those situations where you make 1 or 2 mistakes and suddenly all odds are against you. What is BSJ going to get out of this lane? I mean, he's done okay in CS up to this point, but you're going to see it drastically tilting the other way, especially with Misery getting more and more involved with a purge creep.
They tried to bring in Jube to help out and maintain order in this top lane, but they could find themselves in another gank situation. Jube going to get hit up with a disruption, tries to find his way out. They're going to stun and turn it onto Resolution now, eating a lot of damage. He'll have to back up and out. He does not have a whole lot of mana. He'll pop the salve and turn the corner. Meanwhile, whoa, they put their focus back onto Misery. Again, Deja Vu, are they going to be able to make it away with barely any life? Oh, this time they get the low ground hit. Misery will go down. Freedom will be able to fend off the gank. Probably because they had the luxury of Jube being at attendance.
That cask did absolute work. Paralyzing Cask is extremely strong against Chen, as it does have that increased duration against neutrals. A 5-second stun duration made both of Chen's neutral creeps completely useless, and then they weren't just able to do anything in that fight. They took a very aggressive approach, but one cask shuts it all down. Along with that, Rezo had no mana to work with, so it really just was very limiting in terms of how they were able to approach that engagement.
Let's quickly reestablish what's been happening on the other side of the Dota map while so much is going down at the top. It's Mike, still the big breadwinner of CS, 33-2, but it is kind of a win-win because Moon Meander, who's now level 6 and kind of walking away from the lane here, also shares a lot of farm himself, and they may be looking for a setup now with this hook shot. Hopefully trying to get the target onto Tomato. I'm sure Mike is going to be continuing to relay the information that Moon is missing. And we'll see if they'll get the catch on the Tinker or not.
Well, looks
Rocket.
like it should be an easy
He's gonna
hook.
go for it. He's got it. Good connection from Moon. Can they get the follow-up finish? A deep dive is coming in from Wee. They're going for the burst. There's Mike's ulti. Tomato's not going to be able to make it away. Can they get response kills? Yes, they can. Jube, beautiful setup with a coconut. The double stun is there, but do they have enough firepower? They're going to make the decision to move in for Weehaw. They will get that kill. It will be a mid laner apiece.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that we took so long to pop the invis. I guess he forgot about the edict factor, but yeah, he definitely could have just popped that as soon as he comes out of the stun and probably survived since they did not have detection on them. But all in all, 4-3 is your kill score here. Both mids going down with a puck getting a bit of an advantage over the Tinker directly because he was the one to see the kill happen.
Mike went straight hood this game with all that farm. He just wanted to, you know, he's a tonk now. I can't wait to see how durable he's going to be as they try to make an approach to the top lane now. They blast apart BSJ. Now trying to feel confident here. Resolution looks to backpedal, but now they run into the rest of Freedom here. And they can't seem to get a hold of Saksa, who's just juking him between the trees. Eventually they'll get a hold of him, stun him down, slash him apart. With a few right clicks, he'll eventually get dropped. Resolution now just around the corner. Looks to flee.
Oh, gets him!
Gets a good connection with the split earth. As long as the cast is, he's able to make it connect, but it doesn't seem
needs
like
another
they're gonna
one.
have anything else. Can he shoot for another one?
Oh,
No, it's going to get a bit awkward. TPs are coming. It's going to be Saksa, back from the dead. Dishes out the disruption. Tomato shows up to play, however, and gets off the rocket, the laser, the stun. He'll be put back 6 feet under once again. Eagle may lose his life, though. Woo! Rounding the corner, looking to avoid these illusions. Can he make it away? He's fine.
Oh, very close call. Yeah, bottle sip actually saves him in that situation, and it's just one of those spots where you're diving under a tower. You have to kind of just make a key decision here. Saksa TP's in, and they end up picking him up without losing an additional hero.
Drops the coil, doesn't get it. Eagle is still dancing around. Eventually we'll get caught from Moon Meander on that one, but we will lose his own life trying to punish the support, and now BSJ and Mike just go into Moon Meander, who locked himself in a bit of a battle trap here. He's trying to walk up and weasel his way out. BSJ's waiting for him with a Storm Hammer. And bumps him back with the coil. Bumps both of them back with the coil. Hits him with a rocket. This man does not have a TP.
But he can keep him here for a long
I
time.
know.
If they can just get another TP up here to help him
Slipping
out.
Eventually, they'll stun him. Come on, BSJ, hit him. There we go.
Oh, Mike in the
Finally
tower.
bring him down.
Oh.
Mike, luckily not hit with the aggro. He actually pops the pipe. Will avoid the damage. He's running. Oh, they'll finally get him. Weehaw would be able to get the snipe on that one. And a double kill takedown of Eagle. Does it make it really worth it at the end of the day? It's just all of a hot mess.
It's such
Jump
a clown
down the
fest.
top lane.
They get a disruption down bottom. They're going to be able to follow that up. Not with the Hellbear clap just yet, though. And Jubei's just pinned in. They're just going to be able to right-click him down. But in the meantime, Misery's taking a lot of damage, and Jubei just heals through it all.
Oh, the death ward actually goes for the illusion. I don't know if he could have quickly clicked it and tried to snipe it onto Misery.
I don't think so. It was too far off, but he was just kind of in panic mode at that point. Like, there's so much on top of him. But they could have just, gone for the Hellbear clap and finished him off that way. They thought they had the easy pincer kill, essentially, with the illusions pinning him to the tree line. But just do the damage, get the kill, and get out, because there's always going to be TPs to that tier 2.
What a ridiculous game already.
It's really insane.
It's 8-8. Not that far off. Here they go. Smoked, stampeded, running right on through Resolution. They're going to bring him down.
Oh,
Saksa doesn't even want to get close, but somehow a coconut will fly out there. Meanwhile, flying around, Moon Meander goes for the hookshot mid lane, will not find it onto Tomato. Looks like Tinker will avoid the trouble here. He is working his way towards getting those ruby red shoes. Needs about 800 more gold. And you can just build the anticipation for it, and DC would love to be able to kind of bring him back down another peg.
Man, this is just a full clown fest at this point. Like, both teams are in a position where they just don't want to back down from fights, where they just want to keep fighting and want to keep initiating. They see an opportunity, they go for it, and it's cost quite a bit. Like, a lot of these exchanges are unfavorable for the initiators, and you have to wonder if any of these moves really are what they should be seeking after, or maybe they should just play it a little bit safer and farm. But you see, Moon Meander does not have that in mind right now.
Uh-oh, Moon Meander is just like was trying to chase down Jubei. He's like, I just can't let the support walk away from me. But, you know, he ends up going through the shrine and they just TP in. But look at that, Eagle ends up losing his own life, making the move in for Moon Meander. They'll eventually be able to bring him down. Weehaw will step away from any further trouble, but yeah, the clouding is kind of still there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the life of a Leshrac, man. When you have a Clockwork on top of you don't have a Force, there's almost nothing you can do. He puts out some decent damage with the Pulse Nova, and they trade it favorably, but Moon still gets kind of what he was looking for there.
DC seemed to ultimately be able to take down this top tier 1.
Oh, going for Tomato 2. I'm not sure what he was doing there. He already dropped his March, so there's really not much more for him, but at least they have the Stampede to fall back on. They just need one TP to really try to get a counter kill, as Saksa drops a ward and is kind of hanging out here in the trees.
Looking to burst down Misery's creeps. They'll grab one and look to fend off DC from further advancing through this top lane. DC are going to pick up and go bottom, where they find Mike and blast him down. A coil going to be committed for that one. Mike's taken down.
Yeah,
Nice.
and we're going to see Moon stocking up the mid lane here. He's got the hookshot and the blade mail available, so if he catches BSG with a +1, he should be able to secure kill. But he walks, Jubei actually almost blocks it, but fails to do so.
Moon still makes it in, and he doesn't find himself going toe-to-toe with BSA. He was face first with a Centaur, couldn't move at all, and eventually will go down. Meanwhile, Eagle also going to get dropped there, as Saksa will catch him hiding behind the trees. Freedom can't really follow it up with an objective, though, and we'll have to pull off, it would appear. But as you can see there, it looks like Tinker does have his boots of travel now, so expect more kill participation coming out from him, and the farm to continue to go up.
And so much behind enemy lines play going on. Misery trying to go for big flanks, Eagle running past the enemy tier 1 here. It's just so many awkward exchanges, but at the end of the day, we're seeing progression for Tinker. He's got his mobility. He can start pushing out across the map, but even more so, where the key thing is the tower is being taken down by Resolution. Dominator play between Sven and Luna. It looks like BSG gets the better of that for now, but yeah, the biggest deal is these towers falling at this stage in the game, because the more map control you have, the more opportunities you have to pick off the Tinker. He has to go further and further from a safe position to push out the waves, and that's when the hookshot really shines.
Now a collective from DC towards this mid lane here will smoke up after pushing it out and look to possibly round the corner here. It could rendezvous with Moon Meander and Resolution nearby, who does have that Eclipse at the ready. Oh, a scan will be dished out from Freedom, which was in a good spot previously, but will miss the mark this time.
All right, so they have eyes on Rezo, but not the heroes in the flank. We'll see if Moon Meander gets a good hook shot to set the fight up.
Weeha's close. So Saksa here. ESJ thinks he's safe, hiding behind that tree. They look to creep on forward, where Resolution's just kind of tantalizing them a bit. Obviously, they'll see now that Saksa's nearby, but no one looking to pull the trigger here. DC may ultimately decide to back out.
Yeah, but mid's a good opportunity. If they can just catch eyes on Tomato, that's much better. They don't want to fight into March and into Stampede and all this, but if they can find an opportunity where they can just get a good coil or a good Cogs out before the Stampede comes through, and just find targets when they're isolated, that's their key to their game at this point.
Yeah, DC hopping between both mid and bottom lane. Bottom lane, they're going to look to make the pounce with the Purge. And Resolution's right clicks, they will shred right through Mike. He has to dish out the Stampede to try to make it away. Only Eagle seems to be able to make it out alive. Nice big takedown. That's back-to-back takedowns on the Centaur. And that is him trying to build towards that Blink Dagger he had passed on previously. Back at mid lane, hook shot in for Jubei. Moon will be able to lock him down. He pops his blade mail. Jubei can't do really anything about it. Has to face the wall and just take it at this point. We to the high ground will avoid further trouble. DC now really kind of opening the game back up in their favor. We'll take another tower, and the net worth really beginning to slip away in their favor.
Yeah, and the nice thing about both lineups is that there is potential for mid and late game from both sides, but more so I find it from Digital Chaos. Like, the Puck is actually going to go for a hand of Midas here and make sure that he has all the experience he needs to get towards those later levels. Either the 300 GPM is great for the Puck at level 25, or the illusory orb speed and range, that's insane. So Puck actually scales really well into the late game now. And as well, like the Clockwork, the Luna, they can play this game as long as they want to.
Luna will take her own business up here to the top lane. She's had Mr. Kobold Foreman here for quite a while, enjoying that luxurious move speed as she builds her way towards the Manta style. Here is a move from Freedom. They will need this to count, certainly if they want to stay afloat in this game number one. Here we go. Jubei, smokes popped, Wee's gone. Moon could be nearby and possibly caught out. He actually runs back a bit, and that will allow them to catch the stun. They're even going to commit the Death Ward, which Moon will cancel with the hook shot there.
He actually might get out.
And it looks like he could be able to slip away. Those are some nice cogs to block him through the other side. Eventually, Saksa will be able to slip in. They get the one finish on the Jubei. Moon trying to survive, gets hit with the urn, cancels it out with his own urn. Will not survive. Ultimately, will get sniped, but it's costing Freedom a whole lot here. And we could see a possible re-engagement from DC.
That was the cheekiest thing I've ever seen from Weehaw. Misery and Rezo are not done yet. They're trying to get the damage on BSJ, but they're 2 versus 4 right now.
Oh, big stun setup from Mike right there. Turns it right back on their head. He's going to get the one takedown, and they're looking for Resolution. Can they get it? They hit him with the urn. A right click should do it. There's the rocket coming in. Okay, then.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they continued that fight after having lost what they did. Yeah, they can nuke down the Sven in that situation, but they put themselves in such an awkward position, and it allows Tomato to just keep on spamming spells, and this is a very bad trade for Digital Chaos. At this point, they were very far ahead. They have such a tower advantage, such a map advantage, and taking a trade like this actually resets things a little bit for Freedom. That being said, I mean, Digital Chaos, they're in such aggressive stance. I mean, Weehaw, he's been very hot and cold this game, but that last blink where he blinked onto a rune, bottles it in front of 4 heroes, and then jaunts out, like, I don't even know what kind of a play that is, but It's cheeky if nothing else.
It will be pretty much cutting the lead or advantage that DC had put themselves in half at this point. I mean, I'm asking for Freedom to really make it count with that smoke, and doesn't get them right back even, but it gets them that much closer here. And we're starting to see Tinker really hit a new power peak at this point. Aether Lens is going to be built soon enough, then could decide to build into the Agnums, and could eventually be a bit frustrating for someone like Resolution until he gets that, you know, BKB online. He will have the Manta for now to be able to kind of split off any sort of blind, but as the Tinker does get more evolved, it could prove to be a bit more troublesome.
So at this point, Rezo going to be building up towards Manta. Once he has that, you've got 4 illusions to work with that dish out a ton of damage. And no matter how many marches are breaking down the creep wave, you're always going to get some chip damage onto the tier 3s and the racks. And on top of that, just the fact that they only have 1 tier 2 left to break before they can take down the shrines, Team Freedom have to keep making smoke movements, and they have to keep staying on the map, because otherwise they're just going to get compressed. They're going to have limited resources to work with, and it's just going to get ugly from there.
And making sure that when they do find these brief flashes of success, if they are to roll around again, that they can really capitalize on the map with it. This is going to be maybe their first tier 1 to go down at, you know, getting closer to 20 minutes into the game to see really how the progress has been going. Now, obviously, DC have had the benefit. They have a great pushing lineup. You have the connection coming out. Moon gets a great jump on the BSJ, pops his blade mail. BSJ won't be able to break the cog, and then the Stampede will allow them to make a run. Jubei is going to go for the TP. Oh, he popped the coil for it. I thought he would have just let it go, but he just dishes it out a bit too late.
Yeah, it doesn't see him in the fog until it is just too late. His reaction time a little off the marker, or maybe just some lag. Weehaw has missed 2 phase shifts, and that coil coming into play makes me think that maybe his ping is just a little bit too high. A lot of people can call Puck a LAN hero because the lower the ping, the better by far for a hero with such key reaction times. But all in all, it's still a significant lead for DC. And Freedom, they weren't able to really counteract what DC are bringing. Like, normally you'd want to be able to get a really good Death Ward out when Moon Meander initiates with that, because Death Ward does not reflect blade mail damage, essentially, back to the Witch Doctor. So with that in mind, like, they actually had a key opportunity, but Weehaw on the hunt to make sure that that's not possible. And it seems like Team Freedom, in 90% of these fights, their only option is to retreat.
Here they try to build themselves up back together without Mike, and could try to make another run towards the top lane. Preemptively, DC, I mean, they already have a ward down in the lane, anticipating that Freedom could continue to, like, throw their bodies into the top tier 1 trying to get it down, but it looks like they have some other ideas or some other things they'd like to achieve, as Freedom will take their business elsewhere.
So with the Dominator now, Misery has quite the army. I always found going from 3 creeps to 4 to be pretty difficult to micro. He's got 5 with the Dominator. He's got a Hellbear, he's got a Satyr, he's got the Ogre Frostmage, which you don't really have to micro too heavily in the fight itself. But then you also have that Dark Troll Summoner, and he had a Satyr creep a moment before. So all in all, a lot of creeps to work with, each with unique abilities. I'd love to see how fast his fingers are flying on the keyboard in these fights.
Yeah, it's like, I only can have 4 on hand, and then 1 just always in the roast pit.
Yeah.
Roast pit guy. Unfortunately, it's going to be the Satyr on this shift. And yeah, Misery can put his hands to work on all the other creeps he'll have access to, each featuring its own little individuality and fun little skill. So as they take their business down mid lane, top lane here, Saksa able to blink away from what could have been a potential catch-off. Mike, though, gets the follow-up with the stun. That allows for Eagle to get in close, and they'll take the casual pick-off there of your little Shadow Demon.
Yeah, that was essentially blind, so really well done by Mike there. Just finds exactly what he's looking for, but Stampede's popped, and they're like, oh, let's go check out the Roche Pit. And right now there's absolutely no vision, so there's a chance that right now Team Freedom don't even know this is going on, let alone have the wherewithal to stop it.
They're going to get it down fast before Freedom can even make it to the tier 2. So DC could opt to rotate up there and try to take a fight to Freedom now that they have this Aegis. There goes the rocket to scout. Resolution is already en route, but it looks like as the Roche was taken down, Freedom already made the call to kind of step out from this one. Could see a lot of that now. A lot of Freedom avoiding fights for at least the next 5 minutes or so, I doubt they're going to feel comfortable taking one, especially that now DC have picked up that Aegis.
Aegis on Luna and the Scotty to come soon. This is going to be harder and harder to bring her down. And you're going to see things like the Ether Blink Aghanims up on the Tinker in about that time span as well. So he's going to have that blind to work with. But as a whole, that just comes down to essentially a Hunter-Seeker mission to kill Tomato. If they ever find the Tinker outside the base with the Clockwork or with the Puck, then they can actually just kill him and take an entire lane of Brax off of that.
Yeah, Wee's kind of hanging around that bottom lane for just the situation. It does not look like the Tinker's going to get caught. Mid lane, Moon looks at an opening to go for Mike here, who has recently picked up that Force Staff, puts it to work, getting away and out from trouble. Pop of the Pipe will help mitigate that damage so he can still blink away, and he'll be fine.
This Casual Hood is such a strong item. We obviously see it a lot on Timbersaw, but don't get to see it a lot on other heroes like this Centaur, where you could just always hit the hood and then go double edge, and you're going to be able to absorb all that damage. It's actually a really cost-effective item because it's not even 2k gold. Tomato up top, though, they pop the Eclipse just to try to finish this one off. If they get one more loosened, they get the kill, but Tomato quickly rearm, double blinks, and is able to TP away.
Looks like he'll be good. He's out from that one. Simultaneous action at that same moment, too. Moon Meander was almost in a bit of a jam, chasing out Eagle there. Luckily, conveniently avoided the stomp from Mike, and he also was able to slip out from what could have been a bit of a sticky situation. So both sides thankful on that one. As the pressure just continues, you can see it on the map. DC have just kind of began to swallow up the majority of it, and the onus continues to be on Freedom to kind of do something to break the momentum of DC. Otherwise, they're just going to get starved out from farm.
We are going to be going for a Dagon 5 here. If he sees the BKB coming out from the Sven, I argue that he'll probably swap over to Aghanims in favor, instead of going for additional recipes. But right now he's got Midas, he's got 40 damage, and he's going to be able to build up that Dagon really quickly. So they just want a little bit extra oomph here, especially against the squishier supports like this Witch Doctor. You kill Witch Doctor at the beginning of the fight with just a couple spells and the Dagon, and you're at such a dramatic advantage because you no longer have to fear that Death Ward.
How do you feel about Freedom's high ground defense here? I mean, you got marches to kind of make sure the waves are constantly pushed back and create a hectic battlefield to fight on, if you will. Death Ward could be a bit deceptive. You know, jump-ins coming out from BSJ and Mike. Would you be confident that Freedom might be able to get a few net worth-worthy holds?
I mean, it's definitely possible if DC do approach the high ground foolishly, but I feel like they've played against the Tinker enough times that they know what they're looking for. They're not going to try to breach the high ground unless they're either sieging with illusions and just poking at it, or they have a pipe, or they've got a pick-off, and that would be presumably Tomato that they kill off there. So if one of those three conditions are met, then they're fine to go, and they're going to go on bottom.
Yeah, jump for BSJ. Weehaw makes the call, moves in, gets off the coil, and he's going to be taken out. Does have a buyback if DC want to continue their advancement here.
Nice disruption from Soxa.
Yeah, Mike moves in with the stun, but resolution will be saved from Soxa there. And now DC begin their move. The Hand of God comes out from Misery, and the call has been made. Fortification will be there. No BSJ yet, going to be bought out. Commitment in from Weehaw. And now they look to Mike. They'll purge him up. He's getting hit pretty hard, but the pipe is certainly helping him out. Misery and company, they're eating a lot of damage. The March of Machines continues to go to work here. And DC will have to shake it off and walk away here. They get a lot of damage on this tier 3, but just not enough to get the finish.
Yeah, but they still have the Aegis to work with, and they still are able to just walk away with that pretty happily. I mean, that's still the hardest thing, is breaking the first tier 3 against a Tinker. So being able to make that big of a step in the right direction is huge for them. Couple of factors going to that fight. First, Soxa freshly picking up a Blink Dagger, able to immediately blink in for that disruption. Otherwise, that would have been Rezo taking a lot of damage and then probably using up the Aegis immediately. Beyond that, we did have the Aghanim Scepter Chen picking up a Ancient Granite Golem, so they all had more health to soak up the Martial Machines. They could stay a little bit longer there, and they were pretty happy with the damage they put in. But now Aegis is expiring. Rezo will be able to use all 6 item slots again, but without that second life available.
Has that Scotty underway here, but still holding a chunk of change for it. It looks like DC are not going to slow play this one too much at the moment here while they have a Wolf and a DD. They're going to quickly try to make some Luna illusions and continue their assault here on the bottom. Could creep in to go for the easy finish through some sieging of illusions to try to get that tier 3 done. ESJ and Juve already on the scene here. Will do their best to try to hold this tower as long as possible.
So they're kind of still hanging around here. Just with the illusions, they can just try to finish off the tier 3 here. Means that Freedom have to cast a lot of spells just to call off the illusions. And he's splitting them so they don't get AoE down. There are 3 AoE stuns, and he's not going to have any of them connect on both illusions. So he's actually going to get some decent damage here.
And it takes a lot of work for them to even just get the 1 illusion down between 3 or 4 of them. It's tough. That is Shadow Demon Luna. So
yeah,
here Freedom are just trying their best. Top lane, Mike has been the one going out on his own expeditions here on his Centaur. Has the TP to make it back, of course, but he wants to finish that Aghanim Scepter. He's getting close, but still needs a couple of 100 gold.
Now they've got 4 illusions to work with here. Saksa doing some really good micro. Looks like they're going to dispel before they get to the high ground, but as a whole, yeah, this tower is pretty much guaranteed to fall in a very short time span. Beyond that, right now, they're looking really good. Digital Chaos have a full map to work with here. Misery can pretty much pull from either any of the 4 ancient camps, and that means he has his pick of the litter. I actually hope that he picks up this ancient Prowler Shaman before, just because I actually have never seen it in possession of a hero. So it's got a couple of unique abilities, a on-attack root, as well as what you can kind of call half of an ET aura. Like if you're able to stomp, you get 50% base armor reduction. So the obviously it doesn't work really well against a Warcry, but it's just a really cool ability to have.
He runs through March of the Machines with that 100% like basic magic resistance.
Oh yeah, well actually no, this guy's at 0%.
Or 0%. Yeah. So he'll
the opposite effect.
He would get spammed pretty hard, and they'd be pretty fragile, but the utility that they bring would be ridiculous if he's able to kind of get him in there for sure.
Yeah, he's preferred the Granite Golem so far, but I'm just curious how really viable that creep is.
Just a constant siege continues out here. It's like the long war of Freedom versus DC as they battle it out over the high ground.
Yeah. No rush really for Digital Chaos. Again, full map control. They've taken the shrines down, so at this point, they just wait for Rush to respawn and they go again. The tier 3 is already down, already some chip damage on the range racks, so yeah, they're in a good spot. And he does actually, Weeha does not go through with what he had on the quick buy. He had 5 recipes of the Dagon on quick buy, and I'm like, man, are you really going to dump all that gold on this when you spend probably going to buy a BKB? Well,
can he still play himself out of this?
It's hard, but it's still possible.
Good blink.
Oh, doesn't. See, if you don't do anything but blinking the direction that you're facing at the time, then you're going to have to turn slightly. You'll be visible or vulnerable for a fraction of a second, and then you'll blink. In this case, he had to blink straight forward out of the phase shift and then try to go for an illusory or play from there, which it's tough. I mean, you're completely surrounded, and the hero is only so slippery. But end of the day, nice pickup against Wii, but the important thing I was mentioning is that he actually went for the Aghanim Scepter instead of going for more Dagons, which he has on quick buy, and I'm like, yeah, you know, it's a NA pub thing. You started with a Dagon, you just keep on going with it, but it's actually really cost ineffective for anybody but Tinker to rush Dagon 5, and the Aghanim Scepter just brings so much against the Sven and the Centaur here.
Ooh, hook shot. It's actually to get himself over to resolution, and then they could cut off Mike here. He'll go down. He's going to be out for a minute. No buyback for your Centaur. DC could have found themselves an opening to really get some racks down now. We'll see if they decide to follow through with it. And yeah, just to add on to the note, speaking of Centaur and the Agnum's now pickup, you know, you don't want to stampede yourself out of an Agnum's coil either.
Exactly.
You could find yourself in a seriously long stun.
And insanely long duration. I mean, by default, it's already a 6-second coil duration. Goes up to 8 with the Aghanim Scepter, and then you get a 4.5-second stun if you break that coil. So really limiting for the melee heroes on this team in particular, and it's just a really strong pickup this game as a whole. So I'm really glad that we went for it.
Does not seem like at this moment, you know, they didn't have Wii really at attendance either. They're not going to take advantage of Mike being taken down. DC will just keep the lanes pressed forward, and then I would imagine pull back and go for that Aegis.
Eagle going for the same build we saw from Swindles the other day. Does get a little bit of mobility and mana from the Force Staff, but the Pipe of Insight is going to be the key here, where he can keep his team up against all this damage coming out from the Luna through Eclipse and, of course, from the Puck spell set. I actually went for a magic resistance. With the Dagon, I was thinking he might just go for the 8% spell lamp damage on the Puck, but went for a magic resistance and is going to be able to tank through a little bit more of the barrage coming in from the Tinker.
20% is pretty nice.
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
it's definitely substantial.
So more of a durable puck on this one.
Yeah, up to 40% total magic resistance. He's almost an anti-mage. You know, he's got a lot going for him. He's above Meepo tier in terms of being able to soak up the spells. And
All right.
yeah, he's in a pretty good spot.
DC make the call. They move in for the Roche. Freedom are actually not far away, smoked up, and could be running in. Mike makes the first jump. It's going to be for Saxa here, just a stun onto him. Weehaw responds with a coil, and the Hand of God already going to be committed out. Resolution charges in, looking to go for Jubei, but look at the backliners. Hit with a big stun from Eagle, but they'll have to pop the pipe and then pop the Stampede to get out. Oh, Eagle runs right through Resolution. He will finish him off, and it is Freedom on the run as they try to make it back and out. Tomato will begin to drop out the March of Machines, but they lose Mike too. DC know that Team Freedom are bleeding out at this point and trying to just get the jump on him. The Teaker didn't feel like he was there, like at the go-ahead, and it was a bit awkward.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to worry about here. You got the hook shot that's now on a 12-second cooldown. That Dream Coil is just devastating for locking people down, like the Lesh and the Centaur. It's a tough spot to fight into. Oh, going into the base, Moon Meander diving deep.
The Shrine has been popped though, and Jubei with his heal is going to be able to shrug off all the trouble, and Moon's going to have to walk himself out. DC just rampant to move in and try to get closure in game number 1. Creeps beginning to go to work on the racks. There goes the Eclipse though, not getting any finish. BSJ's trying to shrug off the damage, but he's getting hit pretty hard here. Weehaw goes in for the finish and will get it. BSJ's going to be taken out, does have to buy back and uses it right away. Eagle forcing back the rest of DC. Weehaw possibly stranded inside. Looks to orb away, gets zapped down.
So they don't end up taking racks off of that, which is actually quite surprising. There was a glyph popped in the middle of it. The Luna tried to put a little bit more damage on heroes than anything, and of course Weehaw full of shenanigans there. So a lot of deep diving. Ends up not breaking the racks, which was my expectation after that team fight in the pit. A lot of people wonder why Freedom even went for that because of how disadvantaged they are in these 5-mans, the puck being so much stronger in these kind of close quarters engagements. But it's kind of a do-or-die situation where if you just hand over the Aegis to Luna again, you know the foregone conclusion. You know they're just going to break the racks. So the Roche pit becomes very important, and we see their fight surrounded again.
Freedom see an opening to move in and try to get the Roche and take it for themselves so they can stay alive in this game. Digital Chaos are looking to contest even though they do not have their full force ready to go. Here comes Resolution.
Oh, nice
through
hook.
the Machines. He pops his BKB and begins to go to work, focusing down Mr. Banana, and he gets him. On the other side, Freedom will have to retreat, it looks like, the 3-man group out the back door, and DC will rightfully claim the Roche that was theirs. Mike, though, walks back in. Misery's creeping forward a bit. Weehaw should be back in about 5 seconds and could TP into that Shrine and be here. This Roche is so low, and it'll eventually get dropped. There's the jump in from Moon, but it is going to get picked up from Tinker. He's inside the pit and will lose the Aegis right away. Eagle's going to also be going down. It looks like they may be able to surround him and quickly finish off the Aegis here. You know, applause to Freedom for putting up a fight and end up getting the Aegis themselves, but now it only prompts DC to kind of move down this mid lane and finish.
At what cost, though? I mean, they've got all 5 ready and available here. They're moving in. A couple Ancient Black Dragons at their side. The Centaur down for 50 more seconds, and they just jump right in. Oh, an offensive force staff against him. Oh, Eagle caught out by Moon Meander.
Very nice. They shove the Goatman forward, but Eagle might be able to get the finish on Moon. No, but the Rocket will do it.
Wow.
Nice little snipe there, but it is DC claiming that first set of racks. A big hit for them.
Yeah, I'm about to take out the last tier 3 tower here. Puck jumping in, putting a lot of damage in, finishing off the Witch Doctor, and actually going to be able to get away from BSJ as well. So they don't end up breaking more than the mid lane, but that's still pretty much plenty for this current time scale. Again, both teams can go pretty late game, but as it stands right now, just the continuous siege, continuous pressure from Digital Chaos is unrelenting.
It is, and it's suffering for Freedom now. They don't have anything else to fall back on.
He's committing for these barracks hardcore.
Yeah, he really wants them here. Freedom don't have much else as far as supplies go. They've already used all of their buybacks. They don't have any more money for new items here. BSJ going to get shredded apart, goes out. He's out, no buyback. And Mike could be next, and that might be the game. And it is. Yeah, Digital Chaos take game number 1.
Yeah, I feel like Digital Chaos actually weren't taking the game as seriously in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game. In some ways, I couldn't even understand what was happening in the game because of just how clowny and how random some of their movements were. They were committing poorly, they were trading badly, and they were making decisions that you usually don't see from them. But in the last few fights, you got to see exactly what you expect from Digital Chaos, especially in that play there where Luna starts with a play on the racks, backs off, and then baits in for the Shadow Demon and the puck to come in. Like, that's just really good skirmish play, which is what DC is really well known for. So across the board, Digital Chaos, they drafted the classic, they do work with it, but I feel like they're starting to get their heads back in the game. Where at first they're like, oh, let's play with our food a little bit, maybe not giving Team Freedom the credit they were due. They realized that that wasn't going to work, and they started putting their game faces on. DC, bring it back here, and 37 minutes in, take game 1.
Yeah, curious how Freedom will read that game. Obviously, we're not sure if they read it the same way you do, if they felt DC may have underestimated them at the start and kind of Back to more of the Dota 2 Asia Championships 2017 America Qualifier. We are getting into our second game of our first series today. It's Digital Chaos versus Team Freedom in what would be the lower bracket of Group A. The loser of this series will be eliminated from the DAC America Qualifier. The winner will move on to face Wanted, and then the winner of that moves on to the playoffs. Did I say that correctly?
That is correct.
Sweet. And you can tell there that Blaze is still joining me in-house for this one. It's a special treat. Game number 1. Bit of a crazy hot mess for the first few minutes. I didn't know what the hell was happening, but it was Dota.
It was NA Dota.
It was like the pinnacle of what NA Dota is all about. It's some of the most hilarious, entertaining, awesome stuff to watch. I wish the game was like that from start to finish. But then DC eventually kicked it into cool, calm, collect, compose gear, and just took it to Freedom, and really it was just over.
Yeah, I mean, they drafted so try-hard, and then, the first laning was just so radical back and forth.
Yeah,
spells flying for whatever reason, but yeah, it's just hard to keep up with it at this point. Not the kind of play you'll see at TI, but definitely fun, enjoyable Dota. Yeah, DC may have won the first game, but I will say that Eagle may have won the best avatar sets in-game name award. Georgie from Papers, Please, the best character design in any dystopian organizational game.
I love that game. That game is great. I played it a couple different times on my own personal stream. It's a lot of fun. Very stressful, too, later in the game, too. It's pretty nutty, but shout-outs to him and his awesome avatar. But look at this.
We're almost there, man. Just a few more years of our visa issues.
Soon enough. Yeah, I will already have the credentials to work that position in real life. Now, I like this move early, or maybe, I don't know, this is interesting here. So, obviously, Freedom don't want to be dealing with another Shadow Demon kind of situation. They ban it out. Then they ban out the Ember, but they still move forward in picking up the early Doom, which is, interesting because Doom had really come into play when it was all about the Ember and making sure Ember wasn't going to be a possible even option pickup. But they had already banned the Ember. They still want to go for the Doom. And it's not like, an IX Mike special offlane Doom for just Freedom because they've already got the Underlord. So why? Why do you think the Doom? So
I mean,
early?
essentially because Leshrac didn't work. Eagle, from what I've been seeing, he plays either Doom or Leshrac. And
he used to play a lot of Skyrath Mage.
Yeah, no, he definitely has this history in other heroes, but in the past, dozen games, it's just an entire laundry list of 80% either one of those two heroes.
Fair enough.
So they picked the Doom, but DC answered back with pretty much the perfect heroes to deal with Doom. It's like Lone Druid doesn't care about getting doomed at all. Slardar, amp damage early on is going to really restrict this Doom because while a lot of Dooms tend to build armor towards the mid game, Eagle actually goes for Shadow Blades and stuff like that. So
yeah,
very different build up, and the Slardar will make it so that he just is so easy to kill off.
Could see DC just even build on this minus armor if they wanted to as well. They're not the kind of team to run that 4-position Weaver, but this is a lineup that would certainly be happy to have one. If DC wanted to kind of go down that road. But
what do you think about Wisp here? I think it's a good soft counter to Doom in the sense that anybody gets doomed, you just relocate them out. You get kind of the ability to match global with global in terms of movement with the Underlord. I actually think that it could be a pretty strong pickup for DC.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it. They have... Do they run much Wisp, though?
I mean, they used to. It's been a decent bit of time, but they used to actually pick it up with relative frequency. It's interesting how DC has evolved because they actually have played through so many different metas, and the way I see it is that they've kind of picked up strategies from each and every region. As DC built up to TI, the months leading up to that, whether they're at the summit or every other tournament, obviously a few of the majors and major qualifiers, they always seem to be picking up strategies from each team. And it was just like, okay, well, China's doing this, let's see how we run it. And so they started running Drow strats, and then they started running Wisp strats, and then they just had all this kind of amalgamation of knowledge that Mizra was able to put to work, which is why they were so versatile at TI. So, I mean, you have to ask, when you ask if that's a DC strategy, if that's something that DC want to run, it's they can run just about anything. I mean, they invented this support Slardar support Venge stuff at TI when that was completely unheard of. So, or actually no, it was carry Venge support Slardar, but all the same, it's just changing it up the game is what DC's all about in my mind. So don't take anything at face value in this draft.
Yeah. It makes it so hard, especially lately, with a lot of the ways of how creative some of these drafters could be. You can't really just make calls anymore as far as what they're going to be doing. But But here they get the Vengeful Spirit, as you were kind of alluding to a bit, and talking about a Horned and True DC Classic. And Freedom will move on and grab up the Disruptor here. So another one of those pickups where it's just like, how I felt about the Doom. It's like, I don't know where its exact position is, who he's here, what's its purpose, but, just something that works for Freedom. It's a great pick. It does a lot in the game, but, normally we'd see Disruptor as more of a niche pick in most drafts.
Disruptor is an amazing hero. I actually feel like it should be first phased a little bit more often, just because it's such a generic hero. You can build around it in any way. It's a great pick for pubs when you want to just grab random support that does stuff, because you can always control the fights prior to the enemy picking up BKB. And you can, generally speaking, control the lane pretty well in terms of a good 5-position support. So the Disruptor gives a lot of breathing room for the Doom. Eagle can roam around wherever he wants. He doesn't have to stick to a certain lane, because Disruptor's got the bottom lane covered. But yeah, there isn't a specific hero that he's counteracting necessarily. Glimpse is good against Slardar, but it's not necessary. And then, yeah, he's just kind of comboing up with the Underlord. They want to Pit of Malice, Kinetic Field, with the potentially Static Storm and Rain of Fire all going down in one little spot, which can be nice, but DC don't have to play into that. If they want to isolate a target, go Blink Crush Arrow and go for swap play, it's just like they can isolate single targets, and they don't have to clump, because Lone Druid has such a massive attack range with Dragonlance and the level 10 talent that you can really just keep your heroes very well spread out in a concave, and Disruptor doesn't, and Underlord really can't control that kind of position.
Freedom with their last ban out the Bat Rider. So do you think that this is going to be a 4-position Slardar?
I think so, actually. I think it's not more powerful than the offlane Slardar, but I feel there are so many great offlane options still in the pool for Moon Meander that you might as well just put this as the 4. And you go for the negative armor. You're talking about Wave of Terror, amp damage. You get that from your supports. And then you get this offlaner that can do more.
Final ban for DC will be getting rid of the Weaver, and they'll go for the Bane here. So this is looking like it will be the off-lane, Moon Meander, Slardar, and mid-lane Weehaw, Mirana, Venge, and Bane supports. Yeah.
So I have a pretty good explanation for a lot of the heroes picked here, but Bane, the only thing I see is the Arrow Nightmare synergy. Other than that, I'm actually really surprised this hero is in the draft.
Yeah, it's not like there's like a BKB dependent core yet for Freedom that you're like,
you don't know what carry you're up against.
Yeah,
you don't know if they can just easily pick a hero that isn't as directly countered by Bane, gets a Linked Sphere early on, has plenty of attack damage, so Enfeeble isn't less effective.
I mean, I don't know, unless they do some like crazy. Have you ever seen like mid lane Lone Druid and they take Resolution Venge to the top lane and then it is still support? Like, I don't know, you'd have to do some crazy role bending. Yeah, if you're DC, to try to still be able to make this Yeah,
I mean, don't take anything at face value. Yeah. They could do some crazy lane swaps where it could be like a carry Venge mixed in here somehow, but I wouldn't necessarily count on that. Let's see. Like, if
just watch Weehaw roll with like a mid lane.
If you wanted to theorycraft that, you'd have like a off-lane Bane Mirana duo. You'd have Weehaw solo mid Lone Druid, and you'd have a solo safe Venge, and then the support Slardar. But all in all, that's pretty far-fetched. I think we're just going to be seeing the classic Bane will roam a lot for mid and try to shut down the Invoker.
I hope it's something funky for the sake that it would just work with how you went into that bit with not taking anything DC does with face value and just always having ever-evolving kind of drafts. If even here and now they just totally had another swap around game changer, that would be nice, but we'll have to see. We don't have the luxury of seeing them jump on their heroes anymore.
Yeah, at this point I would just assume use Occam's razor and assume that it's going to be the most simplest explanation. It's just this Bane is such an interesting pickup, but Misery is going to be running that and is going to be Soxa on the Venge. So yeah, I expect a lot of smoke play towards the mid lane for Misery, trying to shut down Timato on the Invoker. A little bit of respect to him that they're going to be planting so much pressure against him, but that doesn't mean he has to have fun with it. In the meantime, immediate TP up top from both Mike and Soxa, but I believe Soxa got this ward up without Mike seeing it. So
there was one ping coming out from Eagle. He may have seen a brief sight of Soxa running towards that side shop initially, but I don't think they had an idea of where he may have popped out the other end and dropped down the ward. And plus, Mike went in there, walked back out, still holds his ward. They see that whole thing. So it is kind of an upper hand for DC there.
Yeah, and he'll probably just put it in a pretty reserved position here as they group up to cover their bounty. Yeah. The bear just trying to be cheeky about it too, but Yeah, at this point in time, Resolution, he's played a lot of Lone Druid since it came back into the metagame, and he's very comfortable with the play style that this hero brings. We had the discussion before how some NA games involve the Radiance Lone Druid, but this is a great game for the ranged Lone Druid, and it's probably what Resolution prefers.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he's definitely all about the 2017 Lone Druid.
He's ahead of the curve, man, this guy. But
Okay.
they're actually looking for this
Yeah,
rune snipe.
They want to
They
grab
didn't have
all
any
of them.
high ground vision, so they didn't really see this coming until now, and yeah, they're just going to give it up. Wow, that is going to be 3 runes.
Oh, Moon even grabs the one on the bottom, just walks in, crushes, takes it right in front of BSJ.
4
and Eagle.
bounty runes?
Okay, that might be
DC!
That's the first time I've ever seen that. One team takes 4 bounty runes. 4 bounty runes from one team.
That's some Blitz Dota strategies going in. They just got to like coach some of that movement, because that was just like pristine. They like you have to blame a little bit. Freedom were not set up on the high ground here, so they did not see the approach coming in from Freedom, and then obviously not playing around the crush down on the bottom one. That's probably some misplay that they could have circumvented. They could have pressured the Slaughter a little bit harder. They definitely should have grabbed at least one of them. But
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
And you're probably never going to see that kind of thing happen often at all.
Gold graph, like it's a 400 gold swing off like at the 0-0 mark. That's insane.
Oh, BSJ might be in a bit of trouble. He is swarmed between Misery and Moon Meander, pops the salve, eats a tango, does everything he can to get away from trouble, and it's actually going to turn out to be Moon Meander, the one who will go down first blood. Misery, though, not looking to let up one more second for the brain sap. Sucks him, gets it right before the deny could come out.
Yep, so just if you're not bringing the Nightmare, you're not bringing control of that situation. If Moon gets a little overzealous and ends up giving away a little bit more than he needed to in that situation, Jubei now going to be hitting boots very early on and going to be able to trade really well against this dual lane.
We'll see how much of an impact it's going to make here, as BSJ will be able to heal back up, recompose, while Eagle stands back and behind to make sure the wave continues to sit back and below the tower. We quickly touch base. Mike is going into 1-1 against Resolution in his Lone Druid for now, finds himself with 6 CS, the same as Resolution. But Soxa, I guess, has stepped in now and will be able to help out with the creep pools.
Not sure if you mentioned it, but Doom ends up picking up the best level 1 creep to devour. It is going to be that Mud Golem, so he can just be hurling boulders at no mana cost whatsoever left and right, and that's going to allow him to be very involved in this lane.
Hits Moon with the Infernal Blade.
In fact,
knocks him with
Jubei
the
has the
boulder.
skill yet. Oh, he doesn't have mana. If he had mana, actually, it might be a kill on Moon. Instead, Misery looking for a snipe. Or, no, just the Nightmare setup. He doesn't want the core, he wants the Invoker.
Okay.
It's going to be hard with all these creeps, but he's
Runs
going
back.
for it.
Oh, but the creeps are all in the way. He'll still try to go for the angle and still gets it. TP is already coming out, though. It's going to be Eagle looking to step in, and there's going to be the Starfall. Good enough to get the job done. Tomato will be dropped, and they may consider going in on Eagle here. It was a fast rotation from Eagle, but good setup sleep. Good leap in from Wee to get that good angle.
Yeah, I think he aggroed the creeps just well enough that the static angle would work too, and that'd be a longer stun. But, I mean, the leap guarantees it, and you always got to go for the higher percentage play. So, really nice pickup on the Invoker, and of course the Bane just goes up to the Shrine and they heal up anyways. So, in a great position, you're going to see a lot more roaming from Misery. He's got Windlace Boots. All he needs is mana and mobility, and he's just going to keep on staying active. He'll sustain himself with Brain Sap. He's going to hit level 3 here in a moment, and he can just keep on being a menace across every lane.
And Mike has stepped away now from this top lane, so this is just a free farm for Resolution, who's already at the top of the CS. That's a problem.
Yeah.
We'll just let that happen. You know, for Freedom, it's like, yeah, it's fine. We'll hope we have the power to deal with that later.
Oh, and they're actually going to go hard onto Slark here. Are they going to be able to block BSJ's pounce out? It looks like he's just going to be able to get enough distance. Misery not wanting to go past the aggro line on the tower. So, with that said, just continue to put pressure on him. You got to wonder where the supports are. We see Jubei, he's doing something bottom, but we see that Eagle, he picks up this Doom, and he's just kind of back and forth, helping jungle a little bit, poking and prodding at a lane, but, you know, hasn't really found anything substantial yet.
Jubei here knows that Misery keeps bugging him a bit. Misery has managed to pull a creep away here. Jubei still holds that point.
Oh, Rabbit on top. Is he going to be able to get a root? Needs one more hit, and it's not going to happen. So, level 5, you always got to keep an eye on that Lone Druid, as that is a very significant chance for kills. And in fact, Soxa's so comfortable with that situation, he's just going to go bottom, and they're going to try lane on Jubei.
Yes, they are. They've hit him with the missile. There's the sap. One more right click will do it. Eagle steps in now. They're hoping to get some redemption with the pounce, with the boulder. Misery still holds strong, needs 5 more seconds, could end up sapping here and turning it around. BSJ has to walk away from the hostility. Now Misery moves in, gets that sap off. There's the crush, there's the kill.
And diving under the tower, Weehawk only gets 1 hit on the Starstorm though, and that means that it is going to be BSJ able to TP away. But still, 4-man play down bottom, the Sunstrike off the mark, and that is going to be 2 kills, making it 5-1 for DC.
Mike also went down the top lane too, so
Yeah.
Resolution
Dude,
with a solo kill.
That root is just so strong. I mean, people forgot about it because we haven't seen Lone Druid in forever, but that level 5 timing. Yeah, he didn't even have to resummon his bear to guarantee the root or a second root. He just is able to get him under tower just by that alone. And yeah, 4-man shield and 2-0-2 is not going to be enough for Mike to sustain against that.
Oh, they do manage to get Weehaw taken down. A surprise element there from Eagle. But now they put Tomato to sleep. Eagle gets him out, but it's not going to matter. Soxa will be able to get the finish there. And then they step off.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does suck losing Weehaw there, but at the same time, continuing to make sure this Invoker is nowhere near Hand of Midas by continuing to get kills against him is the general key. In fact, now he has to go into Wand. He's going to have to delay it even further, and yeah, I expect a lot more pressure to come, especially as Misery starts to approach level 6. He's already rapidly approaching level 5 as he gets some solo experience here on mid, and yeah, this Bane is having a hell of a game.
Just a fresh face, fresh ugly face to see in the game again here. Misery is just, running all over the place, showing how he could just really be that early game dominator as a support.
It's really a nightmare for Team Freedom.
Well played there, sir. Well played. He is now going to attempt to make the full rotation up to BSJ, where Resolution is beginning to run him down and eventually just take total control. Yeah. Still, Resolution obviously going to be a huge problem here for Freedom. We'll hope to find a way to kind of deal with it later. Eagle, rock on Misery.
Does actually surprisingly puts another point to Rabbit rather than going for the true form here. If Rezo pops true form, he can battle cry and just take that tower, no problem. They already glyphed it, or they haven't glyphed it, but it's still really potent to get that battle cry out when you have this essentially like a 1 versus 0 lane where you just freely get to poke at the tower as much as possible. But he gets the Rabbit, he gets that speed, and that probably gives him a little bit more kill potential for those that are defending the tower.
Freedom are trying to make maybe a setup happen here, but there's a ward on that high ground along with their own. So Resolution sees troubles coming, and he's happy to run on out. Juve only has level 1 of the glimpse. And oh yeah, you're right, down here below, Misery. Sleep onto the Invoker?
Yeah, Wii was a little slow. I guess his arrow did not, he used it. I guess it went on the creep wave, but you know, Misery's just trying to do it yourself. He's just trying to find that pick off one way or another.
Mike's here now though. He doesn't have a point yet into pit, so can't really slow them down from running on out from trouble.
Oh,
BSJ shows up to the shrine and will be there to welcome Misery with open arms. Takes him down.
Jams it in. Nice.
And Weehaw will be able to TP away.
So, not all bad for Freedom, but they are off to a rocky start as Rezo's about to take this top tier 1 with the help of Soxa, going for 2 points of Vengeance Aura. The reason Vengeance Aura is better to skill up in this matchup than in your standard game of Dota 2 is because you're up against a Pit Lord. Pit Lord's aura, the Atrophy Aura, is essentially in direct contradiction to what Vengeance Aura is all about. It's an additive equation, so the more Vengeance Aura you get, the less you have to worry about that Atrophy Aura, and across the board, you're getting a lot more damage.
And I would imagine Sox is going to continue to just find his way to build up some more farm and XP. One of the best things going for DC is just how the supports are getting so much, and even here, Misery able to isolate BSJ for quite a while.
He's just playing, like he's like, okay, I guess I can just live in your jungle now, and they're gonna teach him a thing or two about that.
Yeah, Eagle is here now, and they're trying to not allow Misery to feel overconfident about just hanging around.
I mean, there's a shrine right here. Like, there's 2 things they can TP to. Oh, I shouldn't be pinging that, but all the save, it's like, yeah, at this point, you're getting a little overzealous. There's so much potential for them to just flank you and to close in. So he had some fun, but he does need to tone it down a little bit as they're just starting to chip down every single tower. Took the top. Mid's actually really low, and bottom was about to fall.
Also have rotations coming to the bottom lane. BSJ showing up to look to punish maybe Moon, who's trying to get in there with that extra amp damage. Gets one onto BSJ. DC take their tower. Resolution gets the last hit, and they look to run. You know, this is going to be, one of those prime opportunities that you hope to get Disruptor in, get off the big glimpse, pick off, but those opportunities just not showing themselves at all for Team Freedom. DC already onto the next tower. Mid lane going to get dropped.
Nice deny from Tomato.
Though. Yep, he gets the deny at the last second.
And they need these kills, though. They really do. Rotating in, Jubei needs to get the glimpse onto Weehaw here after the leap. But the Sentry Ward, no, they're just going to go for the Sunstrike play and get the guaranteed kill. They don't have detection.
Mike, top lane also will get dropped.
Wow, way too far forward. And Rezo and Moonmeander punish him quite significantly. Yeah, they need to get detection up quickly. These underfarm supports just need to get online as soon as possible. Tomonologist is coming up here at the 10-minute mark. That'll get Jubei his Static Storm, and along with that, he's got the Sentry Ward. So this is going to put them back into a fighting stance. But, you know, when your Invoker has all 3 Tier 1 towers gone and doesn't have Midas yet, you know that you're in a bad spot.
Now, before Team Freedom can step back, try to get their tome, try to get their levels, try to get some composure, DC have already smoked up and are looking to go on the offensive. Moon is very close to his Blink Dagger. A successful fight here will get him it. Not opting to look to, you know, just take the time to farm and secure it. DC feel pretty confident, and they are right. They have come across a unfortunate Tomato nearby, Invoker rather. Gonna get put to sleep, gonna get arrowed down. Misery will take the last hit, and now they'll move on to Tier 2s. This is looking much more grim for Freedom than in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, they actually just might straight up take a Tier 2. Jubei has to get in here quick, and just has to get a perfect Static Storm out if they're going to be able to defend this. Arrow, oh my gosh, the Doom's already stunned.
And that's it. Poor Eagle here shows up. Now there will be a counterplay and a nice one from Jubei to get a good Static Storm. Helps to get the takedown of Wii, and DC are going to have to evacuate.
No, I actually think that was completely tactical that they baited the arrow there. They obviously, so if you TP on the tower, you spawn at a random location anywhere around the tower. But if you just click a random spot on the ground, that's where you will be. So they knew that the arrow was going to come out. They knew that Doom would get stunned, but they also had Jubei coming in with the Static Storm. So it was similar to the Envy bait that we got to see yesterday in the NP game, where he knew he was in a compromised position, but he had his team behind him and was able to actually get a very key kill out of that. So well played, well prepared from Team Freedom there.
Jebaited, if you will.
Oh my.
And now Freedom looking to get the most out of this small peak of hope as they take their business up to the top lane. They're going to take the Tier 1, and they're going to take themselves elsewhere. Bye-bye. DC will quickly realize, wait a minute, where'd they go? Well, they got on the back of Mike, and they have...
Well, Jubei seems to have missed the bus, man.
Oh, wait,
he stayed up top.
What? Oh, no! Jubei, what happened? Yeah. He was not there with Mike.
He's just run alongside the bus. Oh, no, please, please, sir, open the door. I got to get to school.
And DC find him, run him over, and it's all right in the world.
Oh,
the end of it. So, unfortunate for Freedom, but for the more important cores, they make it out safely. Back to the grind, as it looks like the Hood, what is he building here? Yeah, Veil for Eagle, underway at this point. BSJ, Echo Saber here. So obviously Shadow Blade picking out these supports, yeah, they ain't gonna happen. Echo Saber, I guess, for getting the most out of stealing stats and man fighting.
Yeah, it's good man fighting, and it's actually better farming between the two items. So yeah, you can't go in and out of fights as efficiently, but DC supports already have so much farm. They're gonna have sentries in every fight. A gem earlier in this game than Team Freedom. And all in all, yeah, you just want to get back to farming. It's not like a comeback Midas, but it's like something that's still allows you to combat the opposition while also getting back online.
Real close there for Tomato. Makes it away. Moon was on the hunt, but unfortunately will not find anybody. DC will continue their path down this bottom lane. Freedom frantic to build up the farm they can in the other 2 lanes. But BSJ finds himself now getting hit from the north as Moonmeander has rotated in towards the shrine. They'll get him. Misery not able to get close enough to get connection for the Fiend's Crypt in hopes of a finish. BSJ will take his business elsewhere.
So it's going to be an Ags rush from the Invoker here, Tomato. Pretty interesting decision-making from him, as it shows a lot of dependence on his spells. If he gets the Ags up, I mean, obviously all his spells are a lot stronger. He has some nice stats to work with. It's a great item, but it means you don't have like a Blink or a Yule's or a Force or anything that allows you to reset your positioning in a tough spot. So, yeah, he's going to be very reliant on being at the right place at the right time and making sure every spell hits.
Mike waits at the top, but we have a swap to the bottom. It's a pullback, and it is going to be a quick takedown of the Doom. No Doom to worry about now if you're DC. Jubei, bit far forward, and the full Fiend's Grip It's only going to be on Mike. They will glimpse cancel that grip. Mike's low on mana, though. Can't really put out a whole lot to kind of push back. Except for that one extra nuke. He'll have to resupply here.
Oh, Moon gets another nice crush here, and Jubei's out of mana. They don't have an answer for this.
Ooh, arrow packed in right at that moment. BSJ's not going to get hit from that one, but Wee's already left on in. Dishes out the Starfall. Huge damage, and Mike is going to get finished. BSJ has a lock on Misery here, but will frantically leap back. Eagle returns from the dead.
He doesn't even doom.
And
get a kill.
Promptly goes back to the dead right after that. Sunstrike, though. Nice heads-up play from Misery. Doesn't take the obvious route back. We'll avoid that.
You know you're in a very pessimistic and sad spot when you're afraid to throw out your ultimate just because it's going to get denied anyways. Like, you know that he's going to ulti a 100 HP target, it's going to tick twice, and then somebody's going to A-click that hero, and you're not even going to get the kill.
And you're going to
He's just like, yeah, well, I'll save it for later. He hasn't doomed this entire game. Technically, that's the first Fiends group we've seen as well, but it's just, I don't know. It feels like Team Freedom are in a much more desperate position. I mean, even BSJ here, caught out by far. They don't actually have follow-up to this, though, so he's going to be able to leap away, trying to pack off the... Okay, that works, too.
Or they kill him. Yeah,
he leaps into the slider, you know. Accept it. Just let it happen.
Banana God. Dead now, unfortunately, for 20 seconds, while DC will claim yet another Tier 2. Only one more stands for Freedom there in the top lane, and then it's time to take down those shrines. DC making this one look pretty effortless and could quickly earn themselves a right to rematch wanted in the next round if this continues to be a success.
And it does look to be that way. I mean, right now, Ike's Mike does pick up the mechanism. That does give them some team fight potential, but I think you're mostly relying on massive static storms to keep coming out from Jubei. Like, you just need so much between the Underlord and the Disruptor, and in order for that to work, you actually have to have DC making mistakes in the positioning. If they just keep spread, they're going to be fine, but if you can get like a 3 or 4 man combo between the Underlord and the Disruptor, that's where comebacks are alive and dreams are real.
DC dreaming of that rematch here. Top lane, they move on the back end of a smoke. They'll put Resolution in the lane as, you know, maybe a baited opportunity, but the rest of them obviously going to be missing off the map. Nearby, Tomato! A fresh tomato has been plucked, eaten, squeezed into ketchup as his blood spills on the floor. I'm getting a bit too graphic with it, but he's dead for 30 seconds. On the other side, they're able to get the jump on Moon, it looks like here. They lock him down in place. No Static Storm committed. And now it's going to be Freedom on the chase. Saxa's close, has swap. But we'll be able to walk away, it looks like.
Yep.
DC taking it a bit safe.
Yep, just casually walking out of there, no problem at all. And again, no doom, no real casualty other than Moon. And he's got his bread and butter. He's got his blink. He's rapidly approaching 4 staff. So his death isn't as important as, say, the Invokers. But still, comeback gold is a thing, and no matter how far behind you are, any kill is going to be a good thing for Freedom. Veil up. All right, Veil plus Static Storm is a lot of good damage. People underrate the damage component of Static Storm, but it actually does stack up to a really high DPS at the tail end of the ultimate.
I mean, I played Dark Moon. I saw how powerful Static Storm could be.
Yeah, if you get an Aghanim's Octarine Core every game, it's solid.
I mean, Jubei's certainly going to get that much money soon, and he'll get the Ags Octarine Core.
Easily. Just got to wait for the chicken wave, honestly.
The chicken wave.
Could you imagine in Dota 2 if there was just a timeout at the 30-minute mark, and then just chickens spawn everywhere, dropping gold like crazy?
Icefrog's like, that doesn't sound too bad. Moon looking for an opening, jump in, crush, but finds himself in a bit of trouble here. The counter Static Storm will
big
come
arrow.
out. And Misery eats the Sunstrike, still holds on, turns around for the sap. They will glimpse him back in. The Bane will be taken out of this one first. And it could be Freedom with a promising swing of things. On the back end, though, Tomato, look at this. Spots out Saxa, forces him away. He's far from home now. Freedom in the middle. Eagle, gonna get caught. Crush is there. Arrow also. Easy. Set up there. Resolution just easily.
They're pinging Roche. They're like, Doom's on cooldown, Doom is dead, and more importantly, the Static Storm is unavailable for 55 seconds. They are going to go in. They do have trouble tanking it right now. Not the most durable of heroes here on the front line. They do have a few Urn of Shadow charges to try to sustain that. And of course, with the ant damage coming out from the Slardar and the massive farm coming out from Resolution, they make quick work of it anyways.
All right, DC have an Aegis now. I'm curious to see what else they feel like they need to pick up before they try to go put a pin in this game. Freedom are advancing towards the bottom, trying to at least get some other money, get a tier 1 down, get anything they can to prepare for the ultimate defense that will be coming their way. Just look at the net worth, for God's sakes. Resolution is just totally in a league of his own.
Yeah, and then you look at Jube, and he's just like, I'm trying, guys. I really am. But, yeah, that's the life of the 5 position and such a disadvantaged spot in the game.
One more level, he'll get that gold talent, you know? 60 gold.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of game where you want that talent. Like, there are some games where cast range is a lot better by far, but this is not one of them. You need to come back. You need to get anything. Each Rankle Boots would be a luxury, I don't know. And they're taking shrines. They've taken the top tier 2, no problem at all. So the shrine will go down up top, and you know that opens up the map entirely. They got a good Dire Observer Ward about to expire down bottom. I'm sure they're going to be making moves into the Radiant jungle and continuing to suppress Team Freedom's farm. Did he actually? He didn't even go for the Echo Saber. BSJ had that in his quick buy and just said, yeah, let's go SNY. This isn't
classic
working.
Sanjin Yasha.
I mean, this is when the game just really isn't working, and you just need a little bit more. I mean, it's not even a reliable slow. Like Echo Saber, you're gonna keep them slowed with just a second hit there, but here SNY, it's a main proc. You're doing what you can. It's all about the movement speed. The only reason to go SNY at this stage is just to stay mobile on the map, but. It's tough, man.
It's a tough life here for Freedom. DC now finish off the second shrine. Freedom have no access points. Moon sets up yet another wonderful crush, but the team not looking to commit too far, except for Misery from the high ground. Gets a Fatal Bonds, all for Jube there. A swap back for Mike, too. There's the crush again from Moon to cut off his way. Here comes an Invoker combo, though, from Tomato. Does some good work. We'll get the finish on for Moon, but it's Resolution. Look at that guy. He's a turret on the low ground, just shooting out laser cannons. And it's going to be wiping away Freedom here. Only 2 left to survive. VSJ, a lone defender here with Tomato, trying to hold up to the Bear Man.
Yeah, he can't do anything with this Bear, honestly. If he gets close, he probably gets rooted, and then he just dies straight up without the Dark Pact. Or, sorry, without the Shadow Dance available. So, nice few pickups there. Misery starting it off. And, yeah, Moon, you know, going as far as he needs to continue the siege, but in the end, they're still happy with the status quo. They're like, okay, well, we still have Aegis on the Lone Druid. We have complete map dominance. There's one good Observer Ward on the high ground here, but they're walking into trouble, and they actually popped the Doom of Mirana.
Okay, well, DC tried to step away. Glimpse, Kinetic Field, not going to allow the Trap of We. Resolution just pokes him back. Don't even come up here. Don't even come up here. Get back home. Oh, poor little Jube. Tried to TP back, but he gets caught. Drops down what he can. On to 3. A Static Storm Kinetic Field combo does leave Resolution alone here with Moon. They're going to be able to take out Moon. An opening for Resolution was briefly there, but again, that's going to be only for the Aegis. Swap back, stun from Saxa with the arrow on top of it. Wow! Beautiful play coming out from DC as they try to put a nail in the coffin here. Heading into the mid lane. Waiting for the fortification to expire. Eagle, Tomato doing what they can. Another arrow.
Oh, that would have been such a sick play. They actually Helmet Dominator, the Fort Spirit that was going to catch the arrow to the Dire side. If that had connected, that would have been like the play of the week. Absolutely insane. But they still are able to put a lot of damage into Eagle here. The melee racks will fall. And this EMP isn't very heavy. It's like 2 or 3 Wex. So that is going to be just him going down instead. And we're rapidly approaching GG.
They're low. They look tasty. They look like they could be finished, but they keep on fighting. That's a mid lane Rax down, the first one to drop this game. Mike moving in. He's going to get his roared back home. Eagle. And he gets put to sleep, but he's set to go out. Tomato's going to be forced to buy back in what could be the final hurrah of Freedom here in DAC. A loss here certainly means their elimination from this tournament, and they'll have to move on to the next qualifier. It looks like it's going to be DC setting up for a rematch against Wanted, as they will just begin to savagely run through the rest of Freedom. The good game comes out from Mike, and Freedom will... We salute you, Freedom, but your journey at DAC is now over. Congratulations to Digital Chaos. They will get the rematch against Wanted.
And this is where Liberty dies, in Group A of DAC 2017. But all the same, DC definitely well-deserved. Little clowny start, but they got it together. They just played tried and true. They're Dota, and they were able to control the game really well. So across the board, it seemed like Team Freedom had trouble in the laning stages, and especially beyond that. They're moving on the map in the mid game. BSJ finding enough farm to really make a dent in the way the game was